Hey everybody, I'm Ben Higgins.
Hey, I'm Serena Pitt.
Hey, this is Blake Moynes.
Hey guys, I'm Brendan Scanzano.
Hi, this is Alana Milne.
Hey, I'm Lindsay Hamilton.
And you're watching The Bros Ceremony.
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 And you're watching Bros Ceremony.
And you're watching The Bros Ceremony.
This is The Bros Ceremony.
Your journey's about to begin.
Recapping the week that was in Bachelor Nation and previewing what's to come in the next episode with some special betting odds.
Everyone can't wait to find out what happens next week.
Here are your hosts, Michael the Hound Dog Harrison and Adam Scully.
Will you accept this rose?
Will you accept this rose?
Will you accept this rose?
I came in on my white horse and I saved her from the castle she's been stuck in. Hello and welcome inside episode 40. Milestone, number 40. Patrick Lalime. I can't think of any other number 40s. This is the Bros Ceremony podcast. My name is Adam Scully. My co-host here is Michael the Hound Dog Harrison. Michael, it's been a relatively eventful few days for you. How are you? Is everything okay over there?
Everything is a-okay. Things are fine. It's better. It's the start of the week. You know, feeling a little bit, clearly it sounded like it, didn't it? Oh, take two on that one. Yes, I had quite the weekend. I hadn't seen you in quite some time, so that was a lovely experience to be able to see you in the flesh.
Loved every minute of that.
So I got
two straight days too.
I know that's pretty wild. Especially, imagine to think about how awful the times were a year ago, where obviously we couldn't see each other for forever and ever. Everyone couldn't because of it's just wild to think. So loved seeing you, and I went to the ponies, lost some money, not a big deal. Good Woodbine racetracks, and yes, now all good to go. Start of the week, you feel good. You know, it's better than the weekend anyway.
New you, new week, new you.
I don't know. I'm trying to form sentences at this point. That's the best you're probably going to get there.
That's it. But that's all. We didn't even mention the Seattle Seahawks got shut out. I'm sure it's a bit of a sore subject here. I don't.
Honestly, I was feeling so under the weather yesterday, on the Sunday there, that I couldn't feel feelings really. So obviously I'm not happy they lost and got shut out, but I couldn't feel feelings. So I was just sort of like, all right, whatever. Let's just try to survive the day type of thing. So. Yeah.
So you couldn't feel feelings, but on the dock and on the Bachelorette, there were a lot of feelings being felt. That, man, people might be surprised. We didn't rehearse that. That just came out.
That's pretty good.
So as you know, all of our loyal listeners and viewers, this is episode 40, the Bros Ceremony. You know the drill, where we look back on the week that was in Bachelor Nation and look ahead. So we're going to recap Bachelor in Paradise Canada. We're also going to look at tonight's episode of The Bachelorette, where Michelle's heart is vying for some guys, some drama in the house. That never happens in The Bachelorette. There's never drama at all, but we have tons of it. But first, Bachelor in Paradise Canada was a couple nights ago on Sunday evening, and I guess the theme of the episode really, Michael, was new additions, new female additions coming in, and that started first of all with Sessa. I mean, spelled Sasa, I believe, but pronounced Sessa. Am I right with that one?
Something, certainly a name that I'd never seen before. So it was an original name, and she basically promised that she'd be an original character because she said everyone's gonna be obsessed with her and everyone's gonna love her so much. So except for the fact that her date with Mike, as we'll talk about here in a little bit, wasn't so. I don't think he was so obsessed with her after that one. So, but yeah, I'd never heard that name. It's a really unique name, and I quite like it, Adam. But yeah, she was just the first of 3 or 4 new entrants. No, I think it was 3 new entrants to the show. Of course, last week Bianca made it onto the show, and correct me if I'm wrong. I'm just thinking about this. Did Bianca get a date card? I don't think she did she? The
only thing with a number that Bianca got was the mention of her age, which happened about 37 times because she's 37.
So that's kind of a ripoff for her, no?
Yeah, it is. And I didn't even think of that. Great point by you, by the way. And you mentioned the conversation being awkward between Sessa and Mike. Do you think our first episode of the Bros Ceremony was similar in terms of, finding each other, chemistry not quite being there? I don't think so. I don't think there were any awkward lulls or halts in conversation. I think we basically nailed it. But what do you think?
I think if we were to look back at that episode, I'd probably be so embarrassed and be like, oh my goodness. Oh, maybe the chemistry was smoldering even back then. So maybe it was exceptional and exhilarating a long time ago. Sometimes people will talk to me about these episodes that we recorded or the posts that will the things that we post on Instagram. obviously the YouTube episodes as well. And we do so many of these, and I do other podcasts and different things. Honestly, a lot of times it's just the stuff. Yeah, brag. It just sort of flies over my head almost like minutes within after saying stuff. It's like, oh yeah, I said that. Completely forgot it. I said that 6 months ago.
Well, you mentioned you do a lot of other things, not a big deal. One other thing that you did this past week that quite frankly blew up social media. It got my family group chat buzzing. One morning last week, you were on the SC with Jay Onright show where you were howling. You've been walking on the streets of Toronto ever since. How many times have you been stopped? How many autographs have you signed? What's the weirdest place you've signed an autograph in?
Whoa, well, I would say, I think I'm not counting all, but I think about 38 autographs thus far. No, minus 38, actually 0. So I can't even lie on that one, Adam. Yeah, it's I just don't think that people just don't like me. I think, Adam, I think that's the main takeaway from this. Whoa. Even though I did my woo, 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 howling, people didn't like it. Sad.
That's right. They don't like you, Michael. They love you. And that's what it's all about here. But getting back to one of the things you do is the bro ceremony. And that's Bachelor in Paradise Canada. And that's where love, that's where drama. And the drama really continued here when the host, Jesse, brought everyone together, said, it's time for a Camp Paradise bonfire with a twist. Let's get the product placement in there with a twist. And we saw some drama occur here, especially with our dear friend, Brendan Scanzano's friend, Kamil. And Joey, where you didn't, things weren't really seeing eye to eye.
It feels like it. Well, Caitlin says it. It seemed like they have a target on their back. Kamil and Caitlin constantly, every episode is pretty much overtaken by both of them almost every single week. So, yeah. What was the question that Joey asked? Something about he wrote for the question. Why are you checking out all the different women on the show, Kamil, or something along those lines? And his response to that was pretty wretched, if I do say so for myself. Like, his damage control wasn't the best there.
Yeah, but he always, you're right about that. But he's not one to hide his feelings or opinions. He's going to be a straight shooter. And some people love that. Some people definitely don't like that, but all the power to him. He's not one to BS or lie. He just sort of says it as it is. And, Kamil was in a lot of drama throughout this episode. And having watched some of these, an episode with our dear friend Brendan, not a big deal. He spoke about like how he's just a funny guy for that sense. From what you don't see on camera is that he's just blunt. Like, he's got the great accent. He loves having a couple pints, which who doesn't? And he's a funny guy. But obviously, some people like him, some people don't.
You mentioned who doesn't like a couple of pints at him, and I'll be honest, clearly not me at all. So yeah, still recovering. Good times. Yeah. Kamil, like you said, it wasn't the greatest at the bonfire for him, but then he tried to like sort of smooth it over, and it's a very tumultuous, good word, relationship, him and Caitlin on the show. But it's very, very fascinating to me to watch how it all plays out, and I'm liking them. Obviously, they're great TV.
Yeah, and then even I believe it was the next day or the day after, Caitlin came up to Kamil and said, "Oh, like we haven't hung out all day," and Kamil sort of saying, "Yeah, we've been together all day. Like what? Like what am I missing here?" So yeah, clearly, they're both. Let's hope they're still together. I have no idea if they are. If they are, congratulations, that's great. But Camille's continues to fascinate those here on Bachelor in Paradise Canada. Now, I mentioned off the top newcomers coming onto the show, and Eva was another one of. They call her Eva or Ava? I think was it Eva?
Eva. I believe it was Eva. Yeah.
Eva. Okay, so Eva comes on, and Eva also one to not hide her feelings, not one to mince words, and she decided to go on a date with Josh. And Josh decided to, when he thought of Eva, he described her as this. This girl is a coffee with a shot of vodka. Michael, have you ever had a coffee with a shot of vodka?
No, because I don't like coffee at all.
Right.
I think it's my hot take that it's a trash drink. I've tried it about 3 or 4 times since my initial foray into drinking coffee when I was like 10 years old or something, and wanted to know my Christmas present. My sister dared me to chug a massive glass of black coffee. I did so. Then she didn't tell me my Christmas present. So that's sort of why I'm scarred from coffee, if we're being vulnerable and being honest with each other right now. So since then, I have never loved coffee. I've tried it a few times since, and I can't do it. So that's why I would say I've not had a coffee with vodka before. Have you?
No, I haven't. And you've noticed my eyewear is now changed. This is our Throwing Shade segment presented by Kits Eye Care. Get your first pair of glasses for free. We should point out we're not sponsored by Kits Eye Care. We wouldn't hate if we were. You chugged a big glass of coffee. Was it hot coffee?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Did your
I
mouth?
wanted to know
What
I might have
happened?
I might have been 8 or 10 years. I said 10. I might have been even less than that. I can't remember, but I just wanted to know my Christmas present. So I said, sure, I'll do it.
That's
And I
fair.
just buried the whole thing. And then she never told me my present. So I've been cheesed off about that ever since, Adam.
But like, how was your throat after that? Chugging hot coffee?
I don't recall, to be honest with you, how that went, but I think I was more emotionally scarred than actually physically scarred with the scalding hot coffee, because I didn't get to know what I got. And for the record, I still don't know I can't recall what that Christmas gift ended up being. That was a dirty play on her part, and I as the kids would say, I'm here for it, because that's pretty funny that she did that to me.
Well, who knows? We have some travel news that'll be released on our show next week, and maybe we'll be chugging coffee together overseas. I mean, as they say, Michael, only time will tell. Anyway, getting back to Eva and Josh, they had quite a date. It was like a circus date. Like I was watching this. I'm not great with heights. How are you with heights?
I have no issue with them. Obviously, I don't love them, but I'm not like really bad with them.
Yeah, like I used to do gymnastics back in the day. Not a big deal. And you learn new things about me all the time.
Let's dive into that one. We're finding out stories about each other that I'd never previously known. You for how long and competitively or what?
Oh no, I wasn't 10, but I was probably in the 8 to 9 range, probably. Mm-hmm. It wasn't love at first sight, and it just wasn't love, period. But I did some, I can do the odd somersault here and there, maybe a cartwheel if you really want to dare me. But they had quite the date going, doing somersaults and circles in the air, flips and all that sort of thing. And eventually there was some water spat on a face, and that's just some of the way it went. But there was also, Michael, an interesting segue after the date, mm-hmm. where Eva said to Josh, "You have nice lips." And he said, "You have nice lips." And then basically one of them said, "Let's see." And
it sort of like reminds you a little bit of like maybe how like a young kids like first falling in love might initiate wanting to make out with each other. It's like, "You have nice lips. You have nice lips." I thought it was a very kind of funny, sweet little little moment they had there between the two of them, Eva and Josh. And they locked lips. They locked their luscious lips together, Adam.
They sure did. And at first Josh seemed a little put off. Maybe a little not like, who was the guy on Katie Thurston's season who wasn't the good kisser?
Yeah, we've talked about this before on the podcast. Like, we know these people. Connor. Right.
And then someone in the after the final rose came on, or the men tell all, and kissed him that totally wasn't planned, but certainly was planned, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Wig, nudge. Now, throughout this conversation, some news came into my earpiece actually here, that I alerted our audience that I was going to give some news this week from last week's show. But this is what we call, Michael, a bit of a tease. So I mentioned on our show last week that news is coming this week, but now I'm actually mentioning that we'll get news next week.
Okay.
Yes. Assuming we're talking about the same thing without spoiling too much, but sort of kind of maybe shoulda, woulda, coulda. I think we are
talking about kissing. Maybe are we having a kissing contest on the podcast or something?
I will maybe. I don't know. We might. We might not.
Okay, so
probably won't.
Can you guarantee this news being on next podcast, or are you not sure still?
No, I can guarantee that this news, and it's going to surprise some people. It's going to excite some people. It's just news that we're looking forward to sharing with our audience, our listeners, our loyal subscribers, our viewers,
and to me, because I don't know the news either. Will it make people cry? This news?
No
cry.
It's going to. Well, actually, it might make people cry.
Tears of joy, perhaps. I truthfully do not know the news, so I'm excited. I'm on the edge of my seat, literally waiting for that, but I have to wait for another week, unfortunately.
I think we might be talking about two different things now, which I'm a little horrified about. But anyways,
I have no idea what the news is, so
Okay.
that's why it makes it so good. I'm very excited.
Yeah. Okay. Speaking of excitement, we had some more newcomers come on the beach here. Another great segue. Actually, Eva spoke to Josh about Lisa, how he had a previous, this connection with Lisa, and Eva was basically saying, no, you can't kiss her. Like, no, it's all about me now. Like, do you think Eva's watched Bachelor in Paradise before?
Was she a previous contestant on one of those shows?
I don't. They said Bachelor Nation. So, I don't think.
Yeah,
so.
I think she might just be a completely brand new player, or whatever, or not player, but whatever you want to call it, contestant on the show on the beach. So yeah. Well, as I said about her, she was very, very blunt and direct. So I guess she was just like, no, if we're making out, that you're not making out with anyone else. But that's not exactly, as you mentioned, how the show works entirely, because there's lots of twists and turns. They love to throw a lot of curveballs at people.
And speaking of curveballs, boy, right on the platter on that one. Another newcomer arrived, and that was Maria. And Maria walks onto off the dock onto the beach. Initially, locks eyes with Joey, and Joey gave her this whole background about the lay of the land of the situation. They worked together back in Toronto, where they went on a date together, but his phone was quote unquote blowing up while on said date. Really weird thing to say, but hey, you know what? Joey's Joey. But Maria and Brendan M go on a date, and you mentioned curveballs. Brendan M threw a high lofting curveball right to Angela, and she did not see this coming. And let's just say she wasn't very happy with this.
No, not exactly at all, which I guess surprised him, because I suppose he'd said, whether it's true or not, who knows, that earlier on in the process, they said to each other, no, we can go on dates with different people if it happens. But obviously, I'm sure it's been, a few episodes since they maybe had said that. So then feelings started to develop more, of course. And so then therefore she wasn't really loving it. Tough situation. And I thought like he played it as well as he perhaps could have, of course, not kissing Maria at all, being respectful of that. Of course, when they came back to the group there, I think it was Eva. Eva said, "Hey, did you guys kiss?" And there was no answer from them. So I'm thinking that's probably the show. They probably said no, but the show just selectively leaving that part of the show out of, basically not throwing that in there. I'm thinking there's no way they wouldn't have said no to that. So I think they just sort of decided to not show that part of the episode, because of course it seemed rather awkward, didn't it? Like, whoa, why wouldn't you answer that question? It's kind of weird, right?
Well, it got even weirder when they got back from the date. Interesting date, by the way, where they were sort of painting with white bathing suits on. Anyway, so they got back from this date where they allegedly did kiss. They see a big group of people. Hear this or asked about if they kissed or not. They said they didn't say anything. Go on to the next group where Angela was sitting with Ileana and Caitlin, and I think I want to say Kamil, and maybe our boy Brendan was there. And what did they do? What did Brendan M and Maria do? They turned around and walked away, and that's how the episode ended. It was like, whoa, that was a little awkward.
Again, who knows, with the magic of television there, Adam, that's possibility that they hung out with the group for like hours. 30 minutes and then decided to then later go on down to the beach by themselves. She never, with reality show editing, you always have to take things with a little bit grain of salt. Obviously, like it is real to a point, but then of course I'm sure these shows they definitely do massage the truth a little bit with different things. So right. You never quite know, but that being said, it certainly seemed to be a spicy ending to the episode, which will of course lead into the one that's upcoming, which seems like it's going to be pretty good. Like
we've mentioned many times on this very program, that the way they promote the upcoming episodes, like next week looks ludicrous. It just looks like exceptional television. Looking forward to seeing what comes next week on Bachelor in Paradise Canada. So that's our recap of Bachelor in Paradise Canada. I should mention though, a couple weeks ago, our boy Brendan Scanzano had the spotlight on him. The entire 90-minute episode was all about him. Forgive me if I'm wrong, but we didn't hear his voice once in this episode. It was like, where's Brendan? Where's Scans?
Well, actually, not even just that. Even the first like 15 minutes, I'm like, they didn't even show a shot of him at all. I'm like, wait, is he like gone for a
Yeah,
little while
did
or
he go
something? Like,
home?
I was kind of like perplexed there for a while. I'm like, where is this guy? But yeah, no, to my knowledge, he didn't say a single word the entire episode. And as you mentioned, we've barely even seen it all. So that's pretty disappointing that he didn't have his episode, you know?
I will say I have to give a special shout out to Brendan though, because last week it was a Bachelor Nation fan favorite. She's a big fan of the show. Her name's Lisa, a friend of mine. She is a big fan of The Bachelor, big fan of the Bros ceremony, and it was her birthday last week. So I reached out to Brendan and said, hey, like, do you mind wishing Lisa happy birthday? He said, no problem. Give me a couple, tidbits of information. Within 10 minutes, I had a selfie video sent it on to Lisa, and she was crying. So way to go, Brendan. A special birthday wish from Brendan to Lisa.
Tears of joy or tears of just being so emotional that she was moved so much by this video?
Yeah, I got a flurry of texts. She said she was screaming. So I would think that's a happy shriek.
Yes, it sounds
I don't know, but I would safely presume.
And when you say your friend is Lisa, are you referring to, of course, Lisa on the show? That would be pretty amazing if that was the case.
That would be amazing. That's for sure. But unfortunately, wasn't Lisa. But yeah, Bachelor in Paradise Canada every Sunday, 8 p.m. City TV, also available on the City TV app the next morning, generally around 8 or 9 a.m. Or if you can't tune, if you're watching Sunday Night Football, or if you're watching God knows what on Sunday, and maybe enjoying a Sunday fun day. And anyway, so that's Bachelor in Paradise Canada. Of course, the Bachelorette. And the next episode gets underway in just a few hours, actually, a little later tonight, where Michelle's journey to find love continues. And we spoke about this last week. It's just like, I don't know. Something's flat about this. I just can't, like, as the guy's not interesting. Is it like, are they trying to force a storyline here? I don't know. I just can't. It hasn't been my favorite so far. Maybe they'll change. Hopefully it does. But so far, it's been whatever.
I agree. It hasn't been a spectacular television. Obviously, they've gotten rid of some interesting characters the first few episodes, which were sort of driving the drama and making things, pretty fun there, at least from the perspective of things being kind of crazy. But yeah, it is kind of funny that what we of course spoke about, which is nice though, is that each episode has ended up with a rose ceremony. I almost feel the reason they've done that perhaps is because you're right. Things haven't been overly interesting. So there's like, all right, let's just get the season over with earlier or something. Because obviously, usually, like in past seasons anyway, it would be like maybe like 25% of the time it felt like there actually was a rose ceremony at the end of the episode. But now, first 4, all rose ceremonies at the end. So, and of course, some more interesting guys left this week. So it's like, oh my God. So I don't know. It is flat a little bit this season, I would say.
Yeah, we'll mention some of those interesting guys in just a little bit. But first, one thing that really stuck out to me, one of the group dates was sort of a PJ party, like a slumber party, I guess. And that turned into the Bella twins, didn't know who they were, taking part in the ultimate teddy bear takedown, where guys would sort of face off, whacking teddy bears at each other. But it was always like they'd announce the first matchup, and it was whoever versus whoever.
Yes, it's a versus.
Versus, like what?
Yes. Yeah.
Versus.
I thought, yeah, I know,
but
Adam,
people do that in all walks of life. Like, do you not read?
I feel that's a good point, Adam, but I feel like we're getting stupider and stupider with our sports terms or something like that. We've gone back in time or something, obviously I've railed before about how, people will say they're down 0-2 or they're losing the game 4-7 or stuff like that. Obviously that's so stupid. No, you're losing 7-4 or you're down 2-0. But yeah, the verse thing. And of course I hate sport as opposed to sports. I love sport. Oh my God. So it does feel like there's a lot of these terms are pretty annoying, but yeah, the verse one, I didn't actually think of it at the time, but now that you mention it, yes, that is obviously wrong. And I could see why you would have been quite annoyed by that, Adam.
Yeah, definitely. And speaking of quite annoyed, I mean, the rose ceremony, just before it happens, of course, there's always the cocktail party, although the cocktail party, say that 10 times fast, has been canceled a few times so far this season, but it went on. And, Michelle walked down those big, long stairs, which looked really cool, by the way. Mm-hmm. And right away, Chris S. gives her a drink, stops her, addresses the group, and basically throws everyone under the bus, like sort of out of nowhere, it seemed to the viewing audience anyway. What were your thoughts on Chris calling everyone out and then getting the final rose?
Well, I think it was basically, they're like, crap, we don't have a lot of drama here. All these guys who are bringing all this drama are now gone. It seems pretty chill for the first half of the episode. All right, we need a new heavy. We needed someone else to do something that's going to be controversial. So he probably had those feelings already, and the producer probably poked and prodded him a little bit to do that. Oh, that'd be good TV. And then so he did it. Very, very way out of left field. Really quite stunning. And also, shocker, yeah, that he got the final rose. Obviously, that was going to come. But yeah, definitely very, very way out of left field and bizarre. No question about that.
Yeah, it seemed really strange. And, like we've mentioned before throughout this season where Michelle's just, sent people home. I thought maybe for a second that Chris would be sent home because it didn't really seem like they have much of a connection. But, back to a traditional Bachelor talk strategy sort of thing where, everyone's on the edge of their seats. Who's going to get that final rose? Of course, it ended up being Chris S. So, which is that's a fascinating storyline here going forward as they go to Minnesota. Talk about excitement. We're going to Minnesota. I'm looking forward to seeing what's next here.
I guess the main theme, of course, what Chris initially even said that was, if I'm not mistaken, he wasn't even on the original date. But Michelle said she didn't feel like she was being seen throughout the date. The guys were just all basically broing out together and not really talking to her, not creating small moments with her type thing. And I think that's when he caught wind of that story. So that's when he decided to go on the offensive and just really sort of throw all the guys under the bus. And I'm curious to know if the guys liked him before that, or if were they totally fine with him basically. But then, yeah, some of the guys just straight up absolutely hated him after that.
Well, I noticed after Chris S got that final rose, so obviously there are 3 or 4 guys going home. Shout out to Chris G from Halifax. Unfortunately, his journey to find love is over. Hopefully we see him on Paradise at some point soon. But Romeo and Chris S had a hug right after. So I don't know. We'll have to have Chris S on in an exclusive interview here on the Bros Ceremony to discuss in length what really went on behind the scenes with that. But yeah, looking forward to seeing what happens next with Michelle's heart here. 8 p.m. Eastern tonight, Bachelorette is off and running. Now, Michael, you mentioned before, you wear several hats here. You're on the Bros Ceremony, you're on SC with Jay Onray, sportsbettingdime.com. You're just an overall individually amazing human being. Not really sure where I was going with that. But you also host the H Dog pod, which can be found on iTunes or any of your favorite podcast platforms. And you have a guest recently. Tell us about him or her and what the interview is all about.
Yes, hopefully by the time, obviously, we're recording this on the Tuesday, that the episode is dropped by then. If not, it might be the next day or something along those lines. Episode 75, a milestone episode of the H Dog pod with my good friend Eric Rosales. We talked a lot about the NFL and Odell Beckham Jr. We actually were predicting. I said it would be good if you go to Los Angeles, but I was talking about the Chargers, not the Rams. But he said the Rams would be a good team as well, which obviously that's the team he went to. The Aaron Rodgers fiasco with not being, we're saying he was immunized instead of being vaccinated. So we discussed about that. And then, of course, the NBA, where will Ben Simmons maybe go? What do the Nets do with Kyrie Irving? We discussed those as well. And we also chatted about the Curb Your Enthusiasm, the first 3 episodes. At that point, we hadn't seen the last Sunday, the 4th episode. But a lot of Curb Your Enthusiasm and just to talk about how, obviously, how incredible the show is, basically, right?
Well, you can find this jam-packed edition of the H-Dog pod on iTunes or any of your favorite podcast platforms. Episode 75, the Hal Gill edition of the H-Dog pod. Michael, it's hard to believe 40 episodes down in the books. These episodes go by so quickly now because there's so much to get into. We could easily go, for 6 hours and talk about these episodes, but we're trying to limit these 30, 35 minutes, that sort of thing. And we'll continue to bring some content. And I do promise next week, there is a big announcement from Team Bros Ceremony. Looking forward to sharing that and bring that your way. Before we sign off here one final time, Michael, any final thoughts from Bachelor, Bachelor Nation, anything you want to get off your chest at this moment?
Yes, there's a few things said within this episode that sort of made me do a double take.
Okay.
Excuse me, what? Caitlin, in her advice to Michelle, she said something along the lines of, they've never dated one person before. Wait, these people have never dated one person before. I think I don't know where she was going with that. She completely bungled up that thing. I think she meant to say they've never dated one person with like 30 different people with them. But the way it came across was like wait, eh? So that made me do a little bit of a double take. Also, I can't remember which guy the date was with, but they went to a higher altitude. Oh, I think it was Rick. I believe, was it not? Yeah,
Rick. Yeah.
And so Michelle says something like, to cool off, go to a higher altitude. Actually, heat rises, so you wouldn't want to. Heat rises, so yeah, you wouldn't want to go to the higher altitude to cool off. Anyway, Michelle, and then of course another one was Olu, because Olu, as we mentioned, the guys hate Chris now. Olu said, yeah, he's a rat, he's a snake, he's a crocodile, all the reptiles out there. Last I checked, a rat was not a reptile. So there's a lot of, I always love when people have their either mixed metaphors or completely, their sayings completely wrong. I love it so much. And there's quite a few of those in this episode that made me giggle.
Yeah, it's certainly a few of them. And I think one of them at some point during the episode last week said we're at the halfway mark, or maybe that's heading into this week's episode. But so the season's flying by. Of course, the next season of The Bachelor is coming out at some point in early January. Not going to name who the host, we know the host is. We're just not going to name who the lead is, in case, you just don't have the internet at home and don't want to get spoiled. Because we know me. I'm not good with secrets or spoilers. And that's why I've been holding this secret that we're releasing next week. I just haven't said it yet. I'm pretty proud of myself thus far. And we'll announce it next week on the Bro Ceremony during episode 41. But Michael, it's hard to believe 40 episodes down, so many more to go. Thank you so much to all of our new followers, subscribers on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. We look forward to bringing you many more, and give us some feedback. What segments do you like? What don't you like? Do you have any dream segments, any dream guests you wish us to have on? Do you want us to change our wardrobe? Do you want us to wear sunglasses all the time? Let us know. Let us know what works best for you, and we'll do our best to implement some of your strategies into our game plan. For Michael the Hound Dog Harrison, I'm Adam Scully. Thanks for joining us right here on the Bro Ceremony.